This was the original roadmap for Overwatch 2. Now in 2023, we're supposed to get PvE, and apparently it's not exactly cancelled, as the director, Aaron Keller, has made it very abundantly clear that the backlash itself is misled, or I guess spreading misinformation. Now, Aaron Keller did make a blog post, and I'm going to be honest, I am late to this. This came out on the 19th, but I was away for the weekend, and I still have my own opinion, so maybe I'm making this video more for myself. But we do got some new info, and more importantly, what happens next for PvE specifically. The future of Overwatch is quite clear. We're going to get seasons, new maps, new heroes, new game modes on a seasonal basis, new metas, etc., etc. But PvE, what's happening with PvE? What you're watching right now, what happened to this? Not the talents, but this style of PvE. This is still a lot deeper than the archive events, but how deep are they going to make it? For example, at the start we saw items. Are those canceled? When we get this idea of canceled, what truly is canceled? What we know for sure 100% are special abilities, the upgrade and skill tree, as well as highly replayable missions. But stuff that are more deep in the sense of cutscenes and storytelling, how much of those are going to remain? We didn't hear any news about enemies, enemy types. All those things truly matter to the future. But let's start with Aaron Keller's blog post. Now, if you've actually watched like Stylos or your Overwatch, not everything here is exactly new, but it starts by saying, "Hey all, it's been an emotional week in the world of Overwatch. A few days ago, we talked about our change in approach to PvE in Overwatch 2 and released a high-level roadmap for the year. We're really excited for everything we'll be launching soon, but much of the discussion this week has been about how we're canceling PvE outright, which isn't accurate, so I want to take some time to discuss some of that with you here. When we announced Overwatch 2 in 2019, the idea for the game was centered around the PvP game we released last October, and on the PvE side, story missions and hero missions. Story missions focus on fast-paced co-op gameplay, as well as story, cinematics, and cutscenes that expanded the world of Overwatch. Story missions tell a linear narrative about the heroes of Overwatch reuniting and the battle of the new Null Sector threat, pushing the story of Overwatch forward for the first time since our original game released. These missions take place on huge maps with new enemies and new cinematics. We will begin to release them in Season 6. The work done here is amazing, leaps and bounds above what we've built for PvE previously in our game, and I can't wait for our players to get our hands on them. We'll be sharing more details there in the coming weeks, so we should get some new info very, very soon. That one's important, but here I want to completely ask you guys, this is a comment section moment. The idea of cinematics, storytelling, new enemies, hopefully stuff like items still being part of the game, does that excite you? Imagine the archive events, but heightened. If they actually pull it off, does that excite you? Or is the fact that hero missions or hero mode being cancelled completely kill it? That's the other thing. So he goes on to say the following. Hero missions or hero mode, on the other hand, encompassed as in-development game mode that allowed players to upgrade individual heroes through talent trees, providing a deeply replayable version of PvE in Overwatch 2. It was really exciting concept, something that is not only resonated with players, but that the team was passionate about and really dedicated to. This is a mode we're no longer moving forward with. To give you some context for this change, I'd like to talk about the past and origins of Team 4. The Overwatch team was founded in the wake of a cancelled game at Blizzard called Project Titan. That game had many facets, but at its heart it was an FPS MMO. The Overwatch team, especially at its inception, considered itself an MMO development team. As we transitioned away from the original concept and started creating Overwatch, we included plans to one day return to that scope. We had a crawl, walk, run plan. Overwatch was the crawl, a dedicated version of PvE was the walk, and the MMO was the run. It was built into the DNA of the team early on, and some of us consider the final game to be a true realization of the original vision of Project Titan. When we launched Overwatch 2 in 2016, we quickly started talking about what was next and what the next iteration could be. Looking back at that moment, it's now obvious that we weren't as focused as we should have been on a game that was a runaway hit. Instead, we stayed focused on the plan that was years old. Work began on PvE portion of the game, and we steadily continued shifting more and more of the team to work on these features. Things rarely go as planned in game development. We struggled to find our footing with hero mission experience early on. Scope grew, and we were trying to do too many things at once, and we lost focus. The team built some really great things, including hero talents, new enemy units, and early versions of missions, but we were never able to bring them all together in elements needed to ship a polished, cohesive experience. We had an exciting but gargantuan vision, and we were continuously pulling resources away from the live game in an attempt to realize it. I can't help but look back on our original ambition for Overwatch, and I feel like we used the slow slogan of crawl, walk, run to continue to march forward with a strategy that wasn't working. Obviously, I disagree with a lot of this, but let me wrap this up before I give you all my thoughts. So he goes on to say, our players had high expectations for it, but we no longer felt like we could deliver. We needed to make an incredibly difficult decision, one we knew would disappoint our players, the team, and everyone looking forward to hero missions. The Overwatch team understands this deeply. This represented years of work and emotional investment. We are wonderful, incredibly talented people and have truly passionate views about our game and the work that they do. Lastly, people have wondered why this announcement came at this time. After Overwatch 2 had launched, we started refining our plans for future seasons. As those plans grew, we tried to find ways to make all our ambitions fit together in a plan that we believed in. We couldn't. And we also knew that we couldn't go back to pulling people away from the live game in service of that original vision. So we made the difficult decision to cut hero missions and started planning for the future. From there, we need to update the vision of the game, gain confidence in our new direction, and roll out the changes to the team. The decision was a start of a long process, not the final piece of it. This has been hard for us, but as the director on this project, I have to do my best to make decisions that put the game and the community first, even when those decisions are disappointing. In this case, I had trouble pivoting away from a vision that just wasn't working, and for that, I would like to apologize to our players and to our team. I'm sorry. We are focusing our efforts and our passion into making this game an ever-evolving experience. We are still committed to building many of the elements we talked about at BlizzCon 2019, including the story missions that delve into the next chapter of the Overwatch universe, new types of co-op content we haven't yet shared, and new stories that we're planning to tell both in and out of the game. We're excited about this direction, and we can't wait for you to finally get to experience what we've been building. Overwatch was born from the ashes of Project Titan. It was a moment of metamorphosis for the team and the project, and something beautiful came out of it. This is another moment of change, and the future of Overwatch will be born out of it. In the end, this is obviously a lot of marketing and PR bullshit almost. Now, there's a lot of flaws in the logic when it comes to the way this was written out. The biggest thing here is when this many resources have already been dumped into something and you've already sacrificed that much time, you might as well commit to it, because Overwatch's original vision of being a MMO and kind of taking those steps was already committed to. That's the truth. It was already committed to, and tons of money and resources was already dumped. What ended up happening is when they released, or their plan to release Overwatch 2, following its most likely somewhat success of reviving the game, its content, as well as Blizzard's pockets, kind of pushed it to the fact that, oh, we can give up a lot of resources here, like we could spend less money and get a much bigger return by simplifying the story mode or the PvE, by simplifying what we're approaching here. Just make Overwatch that PvP shooter, focus all our energy there, and that's much easier way to make long-term profit. That's basically what happened. There's kind of no way to scoot around what I'm reading. That's just a truth. Alternatively, if they just stuck to their guns and they put out the best PvE mode possible for the Overwatch community, we'd also kind of get this thing where it would better the IP itself, right? Like Overwatch would have more respect as a franchise, but then making this exact move just hindered it, dude. We got public shit, bro. We got everyone across the entire internet covering it because that's how bad it was, to the point people are just like laughing, like, damn, corporate greed is real. Like, it's just so obvious. And then here's the other thing. Keep in mind, Overwatch PvE, we never understood the monetization of it. There was always mixed news. Some people tell me no, it was supposed to always be free, but they never said that. You can go back as far as you want. There was some rumor where Overwatch 2 originally, we didn't even know it was going to be free to play. Keep that in mind. A lot of people predicted it, but we didn't know. That's just a fact. A lot of people thought maybe Overwatch 2 would go free to play, but then you'd buy the PvE. That was kind of the consensus. So a lot of people thought we would just buy the story mode, and that would also help line Blizzard's pocket. But after Overwatch 2 released as a free to play, it then became the consensus that the PvE would also be free. And if Blizzard were to market it or finish it and then charge us money for a full story mode, it would probably go off really badly. And that's another thing. That's going to lower their ROI. That's going to lower their return on investment when people get to play it for free. So they've scaled it back. We're going to keep getting it for free, but we're most likely just getting souped up archive events. Now, is that enough for Overwatch? Not too much. I mean, it sucks. Actually, I'm kind of heartbroken because if I imagine a story mode that's actually good, like let's say Genji's Origins, and I get to play with friends and you give me deep, long cinematics with an engaging story and unique bots and other enemies to fight, like literally unique with smart AI, not just the AI we have in Overwatch, then Blizzard can redeem themselves. But as I say that, and as you imagine that, it's like I think we together, you the viewer and me who's talking, feel Blizzard can't pull that off. Could you imagine a deep cinematic where, let's say, the origin of Genji or something? We get to play it out. I got my friends. We get really cool AIs. We get cool like assassins who try to assassinate us as enemies. You don't see it, right? Like at this point, we don't trust them, and we don't even think they're capable. Like they've been making basic balance changes, very lackluster events, barely new game modes with those events, and then just souping up the skins and putting them in the shop. That's all they've shown us. They haven't proven to us any amount of technical skill. And no wonder the developers are heartbroken if they've even produced those skills and they're all being scrapped. Not talent tree skills, I mean this technical skills. Elevating Overwatch. And I just don't think that elevation's gonna come. It technically could, but if they really wanted to, they should have, that PR announcement being 30 minutes of Star Watch into nothingness, into just saying it's canceled. Why didn't they plan it? Why didn't they show us off the first cinematic and like showed us off the first story mission? Like just show us something good to at least offset it, and then let us know that long term you're gonna get a ton of story, like a ton of like real story missions in the long term. Like let us know years of Overwatch content is ready and it's coming, and we're gonna get lots of cinematics and storytelling, and that all the resources from the hero mode are gonna be going into storytelling. So it'll go from an MMO to a PvP/story mode game. But they didn't. They didn't give us anything to cling on to at all. Anyways, those are my thoughts. I know I'm late, so most likely very little views on this video, but at least I was able to speak them. Thanks for watching.